George was born in October of 2011. We weren't expecting him to have any issues because there was nothing on the scans or anything like that. I was a little bit unwell, very unwell I should say, and it just got worse. And then he was born and he went into cardiac arrest. He had to be resuscitated, and within hours he was flown to Melbourne. They said that he'd have to have surgery, but he was on so many drugs that they had to wean him off the drugs. And day 4 he had heart surgery to fix his pulmonary valve, which was an opening. The first month was very scary. I didn't see George until he was 8 days old at all. He was whisked away from me. So we were separated from the other children who had to stay with their grandparents for just under a month. We were away for us, so it wasn't very pleasant. When he got home, for a while he had a nasal gastric tube and, you know, lots of visits to the hospital, and things were a little bit up and down with him.
I raised money to help children with bad hearts, and I also did it for George, if he ever gets a bad heart again.
At the moment, he's doing all right, so they're quite happy at the moment just to monitor him, and hopefully we can get through a little bit longer without having to have any more surgery.
I was staying at home looking after William, my son, and Kate and I, because we were both working full time, we used to do a tag team and what happened. That day, I was starting to feel a bit of chest pain, feeling just tired. And I rang Kate up and said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling too well, you might want to come home." She said, "What are you bringing me for? You should be calling an ambulance." And as it turned out, I was on the verge of a heart attack and had no idea. They put me in the ambulance. The neighbourhoods were all watching. I remember William being with his grandfather and thinking, wow, I don't want him to see this. Then they came in and said, "Oh, you need surgery. You're having a heart attack and you need surgery." And I said, "Oh, okay, so when's this going to occur?" And they said, "Oh, we're preparing to see it now. It's straight away." I said, "Oh, I'm supposed to be at work this afternoon. I really can't be doing this." And they said, No, you have to go and have it." I will never forget that day. My life changed dramatically. Go to your GP, have the basic tests done, have your blood pressure done, have some cholesterol tests done. Be honest. But don't be afraid to ask the questions. It's better to find out.
I don't remember having a heart attack, so I think I felt fine. But I did tell my partner Athol that I wasn't feeling very well and that I was going upstairs to throw up.
The next thing I heard was thump as her head hit the floor. Fortunately, I've done first aid. Sorry, I think I put her into recovery position and got her in there. But then she wasn't changing, so I thought, I'm going to have to do something about this. Being from England, I was thinking, I mustn't dial the English emergency number, I must dial the Australian one. So, of course, I dialed 911, which is the wrong number. Luckily, it got me through to an operator, and I put the phone on the floor and I started the CPR because I thought, I'm going to need to get going with this. It was 8-9 days in a coma, nine days in the coma, in ICU, and the RHH were absolutely marvellous. They were really good. The care was great.
When my memory starts from is 2 weeks in, so I remember none of that. I didn't know that I'd had a heart attack, and I didn't particularly accept it because heart attacks are things that happen to old people, and I might have grey hair, but I'm not old.
It wasn't the best of times. I wouldn't recommend it to people. If you can avoid a heart attack, do so.
Mm-hmm. It's important for people to know CPR so that if you do have a heart attack, there is somebody with you that can help you and essentially save your life, which is what Athol did. So it's difficult for me to say everybody should have an Athol, but people can take responsibility and learn first aid. And then if you are in that situation, have a go, because it does work. And if you get in early, it works really well.
He wasn't real keen on working. He was more interested in doing.
His idea was to work so you could enjoy yourself.
In 2012 he went to Japan and he went snowboarding with his friends, and I talked to one of his friends, and he said that he was puffing a lot, you know, like he'd been snowboarding all day and he'd puffing a lot. He was making us a coffee and he said to me, "I've been having a bit of problem short of breath," he said. And I said, "Oh, that's not so good. You've been to the doctor?" And he said he'd been to the doctor. And then somehow we got onto something else, as you do, you know. And that was all he said, and that was a week before he passed away, really. He would run every morning early, like early-ish, like 6 o'clock, he'd go out with the dog.
So on that last day he took the dog out and collapsed at 8 o'clock.
And the dog was just barking. And they tried to resuscitate him, and they got the ambulance, but they couldn't resuscitate him. So he was just very, very unlucky. You know, I would like to be able to say to everybody I meet, you know, have your son have his cholesterol checked. But there's lots of little things I wish I'd have, you know, been more aware of. So, and working at the Heart Foundation makes you aware of the symptoms. They're not always the same.
Since it happened, you become aware that it's not unusual for young people to die.
We brought the dog back, and Max went to the funeral as well, and he sort of moaned in the right places, didn't he? It was really very hard.